Top 20 Credit Counselor Interview Questions and Answers. Discover the top 20 credit counselor interview questions and expert-crafted answers designed to help you prepare confidently, showcase your skills, and succeed in landing your ideal financial counseling role. 1. What are the key responsibilities of a credit counselor? A credit counselor is responsible for assessing client financial situations, helping them understand their debt, and creating personalized debt management plans. Key duties include reviewing income, expenses, and debts, educating clients on budgeting and credit use, negotiating with creditors to lower interest rates or waive fees, and ensuring clients follow through with their financial plans. Counselors also provide support and resources to help clients avoid future debt problems. Maintaining confidentiality, adhering to ethical standards, and complying with financial regulations are crucial aspects of the role. Ultimately, a credit counselor aims to empower clients with the knowledge and tools to regain financial stability. 2. Can you explain the difference between secured and unsecured debt? Secured debt is backed by collateral, an asset like a home or car, which the lender can seize if the borrower defaults. Examples include mortgages and auto loans. Unsecured debt, by contrast, has no collateral attached. Approval is based on the borrower's creditworthiness. Common unsecured debts include credit cards, personal loans, and medical bills. Because they present a higher risk to lenders, unsecured debts often carry higher interest rates. Understanding the difference is crucial in credit counseling, as it influences repayment strategies and risk. Counselors help clients prioritize secured debts to avoid asset loss while developing manageable repayment plans for unsecured obligations. 3. How do you calculate a client's debt-to-income (DTI) ratio, and why is it important? To calculate the DTI ratio, divide a client's total monthly debt payments by their gross monthly income, then multiply by 100 to get a percentage. For example, if a client pays $2,000 in monthly debts and owns $5,000 before taxes, the DTI is 40%. This ratio helps assess a client's financial health and ability to manage additional debt. A lower DTI, typically under 36%, indicates better financial standing, while a higher DTI may signal financial stress. In credit counseling, understanding DTI helps create realistic repayment plans and provides insight into whether clients qualify for certain programs or need immediate intervention. 4. What are the most common credit counseling programs you recommend to clients? The most common credit counseling programs include debt management plans, DMPS, budgeting assistance, and financial education workshops. ADMP consolidates unsecured debts into a single monthly payment, often with reduced interest rates and waived fees negotiated with creditors. Budgeting services help clients understand spending patterns and build sustainable financial habits. For clients not yet in crisis, preventive counseling or housing counseling may be recommended. Credit report reviews are also common to help clients improve their scores. Program recommendations depend on each client's situation, with a goal of restoring financial health through education, planning, and structured debt repayment. 5. How do you explain credit scores to a client with poor credit history? I explain that credit scores are numerical representations of creditworthiness, typically ranging from 300 to 850. Factors include payment history, 35%, credit utilization, 30%, length of credit history, 15%, types of credit, 10%, and recent inquiries, 10%. For a client with poor credit, I break down each component and identify where improvements can be made. I emphasize positive actions like paying on time, reducing balances, and avoiding new credit applications. I also use simple language and analogies to ensure understanding. My goal is to educate and empower clients to rebuild their credit through consistent, responsible financial behavior. 6. Describe a time when you helped a client develop a realistic debt repayment plan. What steps did you take? I once worked with a single mother overwhelmed by credit card debt. First, I conducted a thorough financial analysis, reviewing her income, expenses, and debts. I identified non-essential spending she could reduce and negotiated lower interest rates with her creditors. Together, we created a debt management plan, DMP, with affordable monthly payments. I also taught her how to track expenses and build an emergency fund. Regular follow-ups ensured she stayed on track. Within 2 years, she significantly reduced her debt and improved her credit score. The key was collaboration, education, and a realistic, structured approach tailored to her needs. 7. How would you handle a client who is resistant to following your financial advice? I approach resistant clients with empathy and patience, understanding that financial issues often come with stress, fear, or denial. I start by building rapport and validating their feelings, then use open-ended questions to explore their concerns. Instead of dictating solutions, I involve them in the decision-making process and provide multiple options. I explain the consequences of inaction and highlight potential benefits of following the advice. If resistance continues, I set small, achievable goals to build trust and momentum. By fostering a collaborative, non-judgmental environment, clients often become more open to guidance and take steps toward financial improvement. 8. A client is overwhelmed by multiple debts and doesn't know where to start. How would you assist them? First, I reassure the client they are not alone and that help is available. Then, I gather all relevant financial information, debts, income, and expenses, to understand their complete financial picture. I help them prioritize debts, usually focusing on secured or high-interest ones first. I explain potential options like debt consolidation, snowball or avalanche repayment methods, or a debt management plan. We create a step-by-step action plan with realistic monthly goals. Throughout, I provide emotional support and education to empower the client. My goal is to transform their sense of overwhelm into clarity and actionable steps toward financial control. 9. Tell me about a time you had to deliver difficult financial news to a client. How did you handle it? A client once hoped to avoid bankruptcy, but after thorough review, it was clear their income couldn't cover even reduced payments. I gently explained the financial realities using clear, empathetic language. I acknowledged their disappointment and assured them bankruptcy, while difficult, could offer a fresh start. I walked them through the process and referred them to a qualified attorney. I also outlined steps for rebuilding credit post-bankruptcy. The client appreciated the honesty and support, later thanking me for treating them with dignity. Delivering tough news requires sensitivity, clarity, and a focus on providing constructive next steps. 10. How do you prioritize clients when you have multiple cases with urgent needs? I assess the urgency of each case based on factors like risk of foreclosure, utility disconnections, legal action, or total financial instability. I use a triage system, addressing time-sensitive situations first while scheduling follow-ups for less critical cases. I also rely on digital tools and calendars to manage caseloads efficiently and ensure no client is overlooked. Clear communication with clients about timelines and expectations helps manage stress. If needed, I collaborate with colleagues or refer clients to appropriate resources. Prioritization ensures I can offer high-quality support where it's most needed while maintaining professional and compassionate service. 11. How do you build trust with clients who are hesitant to discuss their financial struggles? Building trust starts with creating a non-judgmental and safe environment. I begin by listening actively and showing empathy, making it clear I'm here to help, not criticize. I explain confidentiality policies to assure them their information is secure. I also use relatable language to normalize financial struggles and reduce shame or embarrassment. Transparency about the counseling process and showing genuine concern for their well-being further strengthens trust. I avoid rushing, allowing the client to open up at their own pace. Over time, consistent respect and support help clients feel more comfortable sharing sensitive details and working collaboratively toward financial solutions. 12. What strategies do you use to ensure clients understand complex financial terms? I break down complex terms using simple, everyday language and analogies. For example, I compare interest rates to a fee for borrowing money and explain credit utilization like how full your credit bucket is. I use visual aids, such as charts or budgeting tools, to reinforce concepts. Interactive discussions, where clients ask questions and paraphrase information, help gauge understanding. I also provide written materials in plain language for review later. Repetition and real-life examples improve retention. By adjusting my explanations to the client's level of financial literacy, I ensure they fully grasp key concepts and can make informed decisions. 13. How would you handle an angry or frustrated client who blames you for their financial situation? I would remain calm, empathetic, and professional. First, I'd listen without interrupting to understand their perspective and validate their emotions. I would avoid being defensive and instead focus on de-escalating the situation by acknowledging their frustration. I'd then calmly clarify my role and responsibilities as a credit counselor and explain that I'm here to help, not judge. If appropriate, I'd revisit previous discussions to address any miscommunication. By showing respect, patience, and a willingness to find solutions, I can usually redirect the conversation toward problem solving. Maintaining professionalism helps rebuild trust and shift the client's focus to constructive steps. 14. How do you maintain confidentiality and professionalism when dealing with sensitive financial information? Maintaining confidentiality is a cornerstone of credit counseling. I strictly follow organizational policies, legal standards like HIPAA and GLBA, and industry best practices. I ensure all client records are securely stored, both digitally and physically. I discuss cases only with authorized individuals and never in public or unsecured environments. During counseling sessions, I make sure we're in a private space and confirm the client's comfort. Professionalism also means being respectful, non-judgmental, and unbiased, regardless of the client's financial status. By fostering trust and protecting their personal information, I create a safe environment where clients feel comfortable discussing their challenges. 15. How do you ensure compliance with laws like the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA? To ensure compliance with FDCPA, I stay informed about the law's requirements and updates through regular training, professional development, and legal briefings. I never engage in or support practices that violate the Act, such as harassment, false representation, or contacting clients at inappropriate times. When discussing third-party collection activity with clients, I educate them on their rights under the FDCPA and help them identify potential violations. I also document all interactions carefully and refer clients to legal resources when needed. By upholding FDCPA standards, I protect clients from abuse while maintaining ethical, lawful practices within credit counseling services. 16. What would you do if a client asked you for advice that conflicts with your organization's policies? If a client's request conflicts with organizational policy, I would explain the policy clearly and respectfully, emphasizing it's in place to protect both the client and the organization. I'd offer alternative, compliant solutions that still address the client's underlying need. If appropriate, I'd escalate the situation to a supervisor or compliance officer for guidance. My approach would always prioritize transparency, client education, and professional integrity. It's essential to maintain ethical standards while still being supportive. By focusing on constructive alternatives, I can help the client find acceptable solutions without compromising the credibility or legality of our services. 17. How do you avoid conflict of interest when recommending debt solutions? I avoid conflict of interest by adhering to a strict code of ethics and always prioritizing the client's best interest. I provide full disclosure if I or my organization has any affiliation with a particular product or service. I never accept incentives or commissions tied to client decisions. Instead, I present multiple options, explain the pros and cons of each, and let clients make informed choices. I document all recommendations and the rationale behind them. Regular training on ethical decision-making reinforces my commitment to unbiased counseling. Transparency, accountability, and a client-first approach ensure that all recommendations remain objective and ethical. 18. What trends do you see in consumer debt that could impact credit counseling services? Recent trends include rising credit card balances, increased use of buy now pay later services, and growing student loan debt, especially among younger adults. Additionally, inflation and higher interest rates are straining household budgets, leading to more delinquencies. There's also a growing reliance on digital financial tools, requiring counselors to adapt to clients' tech savviness. These shifts create higher demand for credit counseling, but also challenge traditional methods. Counselors must stay informed and flexible to effectively support diverse financial situations. Offering virtual counseling, promoting financial literacy, and addressing evolving debt types are essential to meet the changing needs of today's consumers. 19. How do you stay updated on changes in credit laws and financial regulations? I stay informed through multiple reliable sources, including industry newsletters, regulatory agency updates like the CFPB, webinars, and financial news outlets. I regularly attend professional development workshops, conferences, and courses related to credit counseling and financial regulations. Membership in professional organizations also provides access to resources and expert insights. Internally, I participate in team meetings and compliance briefings to stay aligned with organizational standards. I review relevant legal documents and policy changes to understand their impact on clients. Staying current is essential to providing accurate, compliant guidance and maintaining credibility as a knowledgeable, responsible credit counselor. 20. If a client's financial situation doesn't improve after your initial recommendations, what would be your next steps? If a client's situation doesn't improve, I reassess their finances, looking for changes in income, expenses, or life circumstances. I ask whether the original plan was too ambitious or difficult to follow and adjust it accordingly. I may recommend additional services, such as legal aid, job placement assistance, or mental health support, depending on their needs. If debts are unmanageable, I explore other options like debt settlement or bankruptcy counseling. Regular follow-ups and encouragement help clients stay engaged. Flexibility and continuous support are key. Every client's journey is unique, and persistence often leads to gradual, long-term improvement. Thank you for exploring the top 20 credit counselor interview questions and answers. We hope this guide helps you prepare effectively and boosts your confidence. For more career tips, interview strategies, and industry insights, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected for upcoming professional development resources tailored to your success.